Hi, I'm Abigail Marinas, and I am the managing editor of the Eagle Angle.
I'm Kennedy Jackson, and I'm the co-editor-in-chief of the Eagle Angle newspaper.
I'm Gisela Avalar, and I'm the photo editor of the Eagle Angle.
All right, and today we're going to be talking about Disney princesses. I'm going to start us off with the original classic Disney princesses. Now, these guys get a lot of hate for the way they're portrayed because a lot of people watch their movies and go away from it taking that a woman can't save herself. Like, if you talk about, like, Snow White or something, you always get the opinion and stuff like that she was saved by the prince, she was kind of helpless in her situation, and she didn't fight back. She didn't do anything but clean and cook for the dwarves, and she just did not fight back in the way that we expect our heroines to fight back today.
Heroines.
Heroines?
Heroines.
Okay.
Continue.
But she didn't do that. So we get a lot of, like, people commenting that she is, like, the worst princess because she doesn't really do much in her story.
But she grew up with the motto "Have courage and be kind."
That was Cinderella.
That was Cinderella.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Snow White.
I did not pay attention.
Moving on.
I was writing something. I'm so sorry.
You're good. But with Snow White, like many other of the classic era Disney princesses, the message of her story isn't necessarily that you have to have a prince to come and save you, kiss you in your glass coffin and wake you up. It's that sometimes you get in a situation that is bad and you can't necessarily get out of it by yourself. There's a lot of these kind of hints within the first original movies of Disney that they just could not save themselves. They were in a situation where they could not go forward without other people interventions. When she got to the dwarf's hut, it was a relief to her because she had been living in this abusive castle, and it's important to escape abusive situations is what I read when I watch the movie. That's the undertone that I understand and get. What do you guys think?
I loved all those points. All I was focused on is kiss you in your glass coffin. But other than that...
But I don't know. When I think of Snow White, I think of the original story. But, like, a lot of people don't know it, so...
I don't know it.
Yeah, I don't know it either.
I know the original Cinderella and Ariel and...
Yeah, I know those. But
and Sleeping Beauty. I don't know the original Snow White.
It's still like, so you know how, like, she's laying in that thing, you know, she's in her sleep, and then
Mhm.
Oh, wait, I do know the original story.
He comes by and he, like, sees her, and then some people are like, that's like necrophilia because
Yeah.
it's with the dead body.
Yeah, which I do say
or
it's
kissing
a
with a
little
lack of
creepy.
consent.
It's a little creepy that he kissed with a lack of consent. But then again, the entire message of the story isn't necessarily that kiss with a lack of consent or something like that. It's you have to get out of your bad situation, and sometimes you're gonna find yourself in worse ones, and you can get out of that. You may have to rely on other people to do so, but you can get out of that. And that's the same exact moral that they had with Cinderella, too, which is such an interesting concept because you never see, in modern media, you see a lot of abuse victims, but you never really see abuse victims that take on it the way that Cinderella took on it, which is be kind to everyone. Don't compromise your morals just because of the situation that you are in. And I really love how they portrayed that in the first movie, but I even love it more and how they portrayed that in the 2015 live adaptation. Now this is hands down the best adaptation.
Probably the only great one.
Yeah, this is the only one that truly added something to the story because we got to see all of the effects that the stepmother and the stepsisters actually had on Cinderella. And we also got to see just how much it really ruined her and just how much she had to stay strong in order to not compromise on those values of honesty, truth, heart, compassion, love. And I think that's a better message than we give it credit for.
It also gave a little bit of backstory to the evil stepmother.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I married for love the first time when I had my kids, and then he died, so then I married for money, and then your dad died, and now I don't have anybody.
Good, because, like, in that 2015 adaptation,
it showed why she was bitter.
And it explains, like, the plot holes. Like, you never knew why she was like this, but then now you know. And then the other ones, they don't really talk about that.
It also cleared up some stuff, because, Abby, you said that in the original, it did say that the fairy godmother, she said, nobody's going to recognize you. But I always missed that. I just thought she went to the ball, and everybody was like, who is this blonde-haired girl? I'm like, she's the only blonde-haired girl in the village. But in the live-action movie, they stated that fairy godmother casted a spell on her so that her family wouldn't recognize her.
Which is, again, it falls into plot holes, but I really just love how that message from the original carried over to the adaptation of this. You cannot get yourself out of this situation. The best thing you can do is stick by the morals that you have and stay with it. Be compassionate. Be kind. Even in the face of your greatest tribulations, choose kindness. And I think that's something that is never explored now. We never see people having kindness be an active choice the way we do in Cinderella, which is so interesting.
Kill him with kindness.
Yeah, exactly.
She literally went through, like, so much, like, stuff that she could have, like, been negative all about it, but no, she's very optimistic and very, like, you know, like, kind about it, which is, like, good for her, you know? Like, we don't get a lot of that.
And some people who don't, like, read a lot into these movies because they're animation, they don't look at the lessons. They're just like, oh, it's animated, so they think it's fine because it's not delivered in a jarring way. But no, it's a safe way to give a big message.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but when I was a little girl, I always wanted to be Cinderella because she was so kind. That was the thing that I strove for, is to try to be kind. Now, y'all know me, and y'all know that I'm not as kind as Cinderella, but it's just something that has always been in the back of my mind. Why choose this if you can actively put in effort to be kind? And I think that's just something that everybody needs to keep in mind, especially in the context of the original story. And so the next movie that we're moving on to is Sleeping Beauty, which I have to admit is my least favorite of the original three trilogy, and that's saying a lot because I really don't like Snow White either. But Sleeping Beauty offers something a little bit more. It offers an actual hero in it. And not only that, but it offers a female character who isn't necessarily helpless and isn't necessarily aware of the situation that she's gone in. So everybody else in her life has been kind of molding her to this position. And now that she is helpless, well, again, it comes back to that message that runs throughout the three stories, is that sometimes you cannot save yourself from a bad situation, and you have to rely on others to do it. Now, let's talk about Maleficent, the live-action movie.
Loved it.
Amazing.
Very good.
As a story told from a villain's perspective, fantastic. Does it clear up a lot of what I had problems with in the original movie? No, it doesn't. It gives us a perspective of a character that I wish we had gotten a little bit more depth in, but it doesn't necessarily clear up the plot holes with the fairies raising her and how that would interact, and since she didn't know she was a princess, it just clears up a lot.
I have something to say. So in the original one, I read somewhere that the reason that Maleficent was so mad to not be invited to the christening, because that's how the movie started, is that everyone in the kingdom is invited to the christening. It's a celebration for poor people and nobles, and everyone is invited. It's a celebrated thing. It has no class differences. But they only didn't invite Maleficent. So she walked in and said, I'll forgive you if you apologize. They refused, and then she cursed the baby.
Yeah, which is completely fair and valid.
My
Maleficent.
thing is, why didn't they invite her in the first place? That's not important to this podcast. That's just my question.
Well, I mean, she's kind of different.
Story.
Racism? Fairy racism? Dark
fairy.
fairy.
No.
Dark fairy racism.
And not like dark as in like, yeah. But
she's a dark fairy. She's not evil, but that's her race.
Yeah. And I really like how they did that in the original, in like the remake, like not even the remake, the entirely new movie that is Maleficent. I really like how they expanded upon that.
Yeah.
I just think that if you are going to make a story based around not Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, that you need to do a little more to do with all of the issues that people have with Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, because like Sleeping Beauty was in that movie for like literally 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was more about Maleficent and the parents.
I wouldn't even call it a live action adaptation. I would just say that it is a completely new story that we have never seen before. But it is something worth mentioning in this Disney podcast.
But moral of the story, what the first era of princesses taught us was that
sometimes you cannot get yourself out of a bad situation, and it is okay to rely on others to do that. It is okay to wait until you have the opportunity to leave or ask someone to help. It's not about being helpless. It's about making the active choice to understand that, hey, I cannot get out of this situation on my own. I'm going to bide my time and uphold my morals, and when the time comes, I will get out of it.
So the next era was about the other classics, but like not the old ones.
Yeah.
It's like Sleeping Beauty, Aladdin, all that stuff. And the thing that I like is that whole part of it was to make a change. They had set ideas, they had status quos, and the whole point of this era was to break away from that. Because Sleeping Beauty, like Abby said, that people think about those princesses as like helpless and not like fighters. But like this one is about making empowered females. So Little Mermaid, you guys not might think of her as empowered female. I don't either. I hate Ariel. Don't jump on me.
I love Ariel, so I am going to jump on you actually.
But I don't like this movie. But the point is that her father had rules for her. He didn't want her going with the humans. Wanted her to stay like this. It actually said in the prequel how music used to be banned and Ariel brought it back, another form of change. But she stuck to her dream. She found a prince. She fell in love with him. You didn't watch the prequels?
I didn't know we were including prequels.
Oh, we don't
including sequels
no,
because the
we don't
Cinderella
have
sequels.
No, we're past Cinderella. Anyway, so, but Little Mermaid, she fell in love with the prince. She told her parents, or she told her dad, because she was a mom, and he was like, no, you can't do this. We're down here, they're up there. She didn't stand for that. She went, I want to be with this prince. That could be a love that I really need, or really want, because nobody needs a man or a woman. They can be themselves if they want. But she didn't stand for that. She went and she did all her effort and work and she got with him. And she was happy. And then her family was happy for her too because she followed her dreams and it worked out in the end.
I read this thing once, much like how you read about the christening. I read this thing once about how the story of the Little Mermaid isn't really Ariel's story. It's the story of Triton learning to let go of his daughter. Yeah, and I think that's super interesting in contextualization with Ariel breaking away from the rules, like most of the princesses in your era did, where they rejected the status quo.
Yes. And I think that's better to look at because Ariel was kind of a naive princess. She signed a contract without reading the fine print. She didn't learn sign language or any other way to communicate with the prince. She was kind of whiny.
She just wanted out immediately, though.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't blame her.
I don't blame.
Shouldn't have given Kennedy Jackson the ability to bash on Ariel.
I didn't want this movie. Moving on. So now we're on Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, wow, okay.
Beauty and the Beast. She was one of the first princesses to not want a guy. Gaston kept hitting on her because she's a creep. Because he's a creep, and she said, "Please get away from me. I don't want you." She was smart. She wanted to read, and they made fun of her for that because back then, I guess that was bad.
In the French aristocracy, historically, if you were a woman and you liked reading and knowledge and stuff like that, you were deemed either a witch or you had to become a nun and pursue medicine.
Yeah, so the Belle fostered intelligence in women and just not caring what other people would think of you, which is a good thing that little kids need to learn. And it also showed a lot of character growth and not really for Belle, because Belle was kind of all the same. But it showed the Beast, who is kind of a bad person when you think about it, but it showed the Beast and he learned to be a good person again because of Belle, and he actually fostered Belle's interest more, because that library scene where he gave her all the books and said, can you read it to me again, he made her feel smart and wonderful like she always wanted.
And I saw this like thing where it's like out of like it fosters like uniqueness in that movie because out of everybody in that village, she was the only one to wear like a color dress, the color blue.
Yeah.
She was different from the other people, like, which is like cool, you know.
The movie had the French
aristocracy.
French aristocracy, and everybody was supposed to be in gender roles and do whatever. Belle said no, and she left.
And I really think that's why a lot of people really love the original movie. Let's talk about the live adaptation. So, ignoring the fact that it's not historically costumed at all, which I could go on for hours about.
All the time.
She already did.
Anyway, let's talk about the fact that, in my opinion, they completely took away everything that was likable about some of these characters. They took away part of the Beast that I really think showed how vulnerable he was. They made it so that he was a little less beastly and a little more like Batman-y, if that makes sense.
That's like awful.
Brooding. He's brooding.
I didn't watch
and he's
it.
kind of dull and he's kind of boring and he's kind of
I wish they like went.
Go away, Belle. Let me so.
That's really annoying.
And the original Beast had a temper. He was angry. He like had a bunch of things that he needed to work on, and him and Belle slowly had this progression of working on it. It did not feel like that with the new movie.
They did have like scenes where they were like, you know, where she was reading to him while outside, and she was like throwing like snowballs at him. Like they had that little snowball fight, which was like, it was cute, but like it didn't feel it kind of
felt like
rushed.
a rip off of the original movie.
I think with their Disney is just like, well, everybody knows the original, so we're just gonna do whatever we want with this.
Yeah, but
which
like, you know, you
good.
gotta explain it more if you want to make it
I think
good.
that they saw the reaction to the live action Cinderella, which got almost universal praise across the board because it added so much to the original story, and thought, okay, we can do this again, and try to do the same thing with Beauty and the Beast, but they made the mistake of A, setting it in a specific time period, B, trying very hard to make it historically seamless, not even accurate, because they weren't even trying to make it like accurate. They were trying to make it feel like it could blend into a part of our world, and I understand they're like want to do that. It just, in doing so, they sacrificed integral parts of the story.
Yeah. Also,
ignoring the magic witch, by the way, ignoring the magic witch. Continue.
Also, about the magic witch. She was a bad person. The moral of the story is be nice to people. But she was a poor, raggedy old witch who probably needed money. She came to this guy's castle door, knocked on the door.
In the middle of a party.
And said, can I come in? We don't know you. You could be a murderer. Also, then she cursed him and said, and she said, on your 21st birthday, if you did not find love, you will be a beast forever. And the story said that was 11 years old. She cursed a 10-year-old for not letting her into his house.
You're very passionate about that, aren't you?
What? That's wrong. He did the right thing. I'm not gonna let this random stranger into my house.
If I ever met an 11-year-old and I was like, hey, let me into your house,
10-year-old.
I would really, really hope they didn't.
Exactly.
Oh, but
she can be a burglar.
In the remake, they did that. Can you provide for me while she was coming in from a storm and he was having a party, and then she says, because you're a rude boy and doesn't learn how to accept people for what they are, you will be cursed, and until the last petal of the rose falls, you will be a beast forever.
That's also bad because he's 10. Nobody expects 10-year-olds to be nice. They're 10.
In the live action movie, he was
probably
at most 20.
Oh, well,
at
that's
youngest
15.
Well, that's
something like that.
So then they ruined that part of
but
making
also,
beasts understandable.
Yes. And also, they kind of Beast in that movie was a bit of a mess, and Belle in that movie. Emma Watson, I love you. You did such a good job in everyone else. But Emma Watson learned how to costume.
It's not her fault.
Moving on.
Literally, she said,
we can't get into this.
I refuse to wear a corset on set. Ma'am, get yourself a pair of stays then.
Oh.
Sorry, continue.
Unique like that.
I don't know why you know that, but moving on.
Because she's passionate about it.
I like history.
On to Aladdin. I didn't watch the live action, but I heard Will Smith did a bang-up job with Genie, and I want to.
Very good.
But anyway, Aladdin was also about her not wanting man. She didn't want to be an object. That was in a time, and it could still be in a time. I don't know anything about third world countries. But then women were considered objects, and she was like, I don't want that. I want to be my own person, which a lot of women want to be, and they deserve that. That is a human right. And Aladdin wasn't a prince. He wasn't royalty. That's also a thing that helped set this era of breaking away from set laws, is that it wasn't expected that they had to marry. Well, it was expected, but they didn't want to marry because of politics or the kingdom. They wanted to marry for themselves. Aladdin worked hard. Well, not really. He lied. But
he lied and thieves his way to the top, but lying and thievery is work too.
But he used his resources. To work his way to his goal. Shut up. I'm going to word this right. And Jasmine, they spent some time together and they let each other in. And then, when they came honest with each other, they continued to learn more about each other, because there was an Aladdin series that I didn't watch.
Yeah, nobody watched that.
Yeah,
but I really do think that it's interesting how everybody else in that movie treats Jasmine
with respect.
No.
Oh,
I'm not talking about Aladdin. I'm talking about everybody else in the movie. Treats her like an object. At least it's most prevalently in Jafar, with the entire hypnosis scene, and we don't have time to unpack all of that.
Yeah.
But the moral of that little scene is people don't treat Jasmine like a person. They treat her like an object.
I said yes because I was thinking of Aladdin and her dad because I appreciated that her dad was old school. He had the laws. He was like, we got to follow the laws. But he always asked her opinion. He cared about her. And he was just saying, I need you to marry this because I'm afraid someone's not going to be able to take care of you. If you marry someone who doesn't have money, you might like starve. That was his whole thing. He still loved his daughter and wanted her to be happy, even though he was an old school person who followed the laws. I liked that.
I enjoy that too. I just think that it's really prevalent in especially like those movies, how people treat the princesses and stuff like that. And I think that is important to do.
Yeah, because that brings another thing is that even if you don't have like the exact same opinion, you can still treat people with respect. You can help make them grow as a person to be strong and independent, even if they sometimes need someone to take care of, which is basically what back to Abby's thing about Disney.
Yeah.
But it had a lot of care. It was really good.
However, what I do really like about like this like era kind of is that is that like they go for people like, you know, like they accept people for who they are. Like who could ever, like as the witch said, who could ever learn to love a beast, you know? Like that's crazy. Like she really went after a beast, and then you know Jasmine, you know, she's up there, and then you know Aladdin's like down there, you know.
But that's actually really bad because she just like screwed him over. She said, "You need to learn love, and someone has to love you back." But who can learn to love a beast? She had fully intention of him being a beast forever, which is so rude.
Yeah.
Why even put that in there?
But even then, like you know, it was.
We were on Aladdin. How did we go back to Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, because I was talking about like accepting others.
Yeah.
Which is like it's nice though.
But
like
same thing.
You know.
Like actually coming back to accepting others and coming back to Aladdin, I think that's really interesting because if I were a princess and I had money and riches and wealth and I might happen to fall in love with someone who appears to be a prince and then I find out he's a thief, oh boy, we're going to have some problems.
Well, you know.
I mean.
But
he never asked for the money or anything. He never even said anything about.
He said, "I wish to be a prince."
But she really just liked him for who he was.
Yeah,
she was
You're kind of right there.
You know,
yeah.
He was different. He treated her different.
And he never literally brought up anything about her being a princess ever.
No, because he honestly really didn't know.
He actually did not know. When they first met, she said she was the princess. Shoot.
Yeah, and then that's why she was probably like, "Oh my God, this is new. This person doesn't know who I am, but he still treats me with respect." And he provided her like adventure. You know?
Yeah, Aladdin is a top tier movie.
Very good.
Aladdin's my favorite Disney movie. Don't tell my dad. He's trying to make it The Lion King.
Oh, Lion King live action.
Not that. And so that also brings another thing is that about uniqueness and accepting people who we are. This era also had a lot of diversity. In Little Mermaid, she was a fish. Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, in the original story, she was a seafoam green fish, so it doesn't matter if they make a live action movie with Halle, because I love her, because the original story, she doesn't have a race. So she can be black or white or whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, people who are like, not my Ariel.
That's not.
Shut up, literally. Calm down.
Anyway, yeah. Also, guys, this is a group of minorities, so.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Anyway, so and then we had Beauty and the Beast. She was French and a woman in a time where like women were not respected. Then we have Aladdin, about Saudi Arabia. And then Pocahontas, our next movie.
Which, there's some problems with it. I'm not gonna go into those problems, but there's some problems.
Pocahontas makes me angry because of the
racism.
They literally shot
colonization.
They literally shot this guy in the leg and then cheered, and I was like, oh.
I honestly, I haven't really. To be honest, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I have not watched that because it genuinely makes me mad.
I haven't watched all of it, so maybe I don't have authority to talk about it. But here's what I know:
I watched all of it.
Pocahontas, she trusted her instincts. She submitted to knowing she was not going to marry that man because she found him boring, and she said, "I don't like him." And
Bend is the best song.
And when she just met John Smith, and he called her a savage, she was like, "Excuse me." She was not taking any of his whatever. I can't say that word. And she protected her beliefs. She was like, my people are not savages. And just because we're not like you doesn't mean we're less than. And then she taught John Smith. And then Which
I really think Disney was trying to go for a really good moral there with like, hey, don't be racist. But what it came off as was, hey, don't be racist unless you're being racist like us.
But there's also like a lot of people really like praise that movie for not like being the only princess that does not have a happy ending, which is like
She did have a happy ending. I think she had a happy
She
ending.
didn't get with John, remember?
I think that's a
why.
happy ending. John kind of sucks. But anyway, and then when she protected John and her tribe was like, move out of the way, this white devil is evil, then she was like, well, I taught him different. He's changed now.
Yeah,
which also promoted change.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. I just think that Pocahontas, out of those movies, out of like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Pocahontas, and Mulan, which is the era that we're talking about, Pocahontas is the worst one. And that's kind of an off statement, but it's just the way that it handled the subject matter.
Because it's historically inaccurate in all fronts?
Yes, but also just the fact that the actual Pocahontas was kidnapped and raped multiple times.
Yeah.
And they completely disregarded the memory of an actual woman.
They wanted to make it kid-friendly.
Yeah, but it's just... It's not fair, and I think that if we were to have another attempt at a native princess, she would need to be... This story would not need to be relying on colonization.
See, but they could have, like, at least, like, you know, tried to make it somewhat historically accurate. Like,
I don't even really matter that much about the historical accuracy. I just think that Pocahontas was such a huge thing because this was the first Native American princess that we had ever had.
She was the first American princess.
That too.
Because that was her land and that's America.
But she was the first Native princess that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
they tried.
The way that they handled her...
It's kind of...
is... Like, I would have loved to see a movie about a Native American princess with the same research and passion that was put onto Moana.
Yes! I knew you were going to say Moana.
Because that's such like a good example of it.
Yeah, I love it. But I didn't watch Pocahontas all the way because I kind of found it boring and it made me angry because of colonizers. But I did like the songs.
The songs were good. The songs are catchy.
But
Just Around the River Band. Oh my god, that stuff slaps.
But yeah, she promoted change in her area. She stopped John Smith, and then
the entire conflict.
And then he continued to help stop the rest of his people, except for Governor Radcliffe, because he sucked. And then she told her tribe that, wait, we can help change them, even though that never would have happened in real life. But
because
it taught about change. Pocahontas taught that if you try hard enough, you can sometimes change things. And then last one in my era is Mulan.
Amazing showstopper.
She is the epiphany of female strength.
I am in love with her.
And let me explain why. Because she wasn't just like, oh, I'm tough, I can do whatever I want. No, she was self-conscious and doubted herself all the time and was sad because she wasn't what society wanted, like a normal person.
She also had a very good balance of balancing her masculine side and her feminine side, which is something we never see in female characters. They're always one or the other.
And then when she started training, because we gotta remember, in that montage, that has to have been like months. Yes. When she started the training, she sucked.
And she got better.
She was persistent.
And she really learned how to be a man.
And she improved herself. She improved herself. And not only as a warrior to help in the cause she was fighting, and she started that cause because she wanted to save her father. When she got there, she was like, I want to help now. She was like, I have to finish this through. Because she could have just failed out of the military whenever she wanted.
I will say, when I was a little child, that scene where she came across the village and she found the girl's doll.
That was a sad part.
Made me bawl every single time.
It wasn't the graveyard, it was the doll.
It was always the doll.
Yeah, but I think everybody knows that. But she improved herself as a warrior, and then she improved herself as a person, as a woman. She was like, I know what I can do now. This is who I am. I'm still a woman, I know that, I'm awesome.
I love how in the final battle, she did not wear her men's garb. She was dressed as herself. She didn't have time,
but yeah.
You're right, but she's dressed as Mulan, and she could still do all of the things that she had done when she was dressed as a man.
Oh, also read something else. Because, you know, when she came in and saved the emperor, and the Hun was like, who are you? And she was like, I'm the soldier for the mountain. The reason he didn't react is because in the Hun tribe, or whatever, I don't know if it's tribe or not, but they had female warriors. So to him, that didn't mean anything. He was just like, hey, a woman. Screw you. You stopped me.
Which historically is inaccurate of who was attacking the Chinese at the time that Mulan was set. But also, let's talk about the live action movie now.
Oh my god.
Speaking of historical accuracy.
No, I'm not. One more thing.
One more thing. Okay.
And in the movie, she earned her respect because they were like, "You're a woman. I don't like you." And then they were like, "Oh, you can fight." And then they learned who she was. And she was like, "Fine, whatever. You're great." And that's actually historical accurate too, because a version of the Mulan story is that she fought and vowed she became a general, and no one ever knew. And then eventually they found out. But they had been fighting with her for so long, and she was already general. They were like, "Okay, now we can go live action."
And remember how we just talked about how wonderful and great it is that Mulan's entire story relied on the fact that she got better and improved in training?
I hated it.
And then do you remember how in the live action Mulan movie they were like, you have special magic ability.
They say she has chi, and in the original,
like Kung Fu Panda?
They never.
Not even like Kung Fu Panda, because
he have to learn that?
There's the thing. No. But he didn't have to learn it in that. He had to focus his energy on it, which is how actual chi works in traditional Chinese. Like,
I'm sorry if I offended anybody by stating Kung Fu Panda. I'm not Chinese. I'm not Asian. I don't know anything about this. So that's my apology.
And I am very white, but I know a little about this because I do a lot of historical research, and it's my favorite pastime to do. And historically, this was not a thing. Like, obviously, because there's like a witch, which is a very
That sounds
the Western idea.
Where did the idea
There's
of getting a witch come
there's a very good deconstruction of the entire movie made by an actual Chinese history professor. She works at some university in China, but she's very good at what she does, and she broke down the movie, and essentially there were a few parts that were historically accurate, like they were going for, but a majority of the movie was absolute BS. And there's also the entire controversy of where it was filmed.
Oh my god, I cannot believe
we already did a story about that, so
so
check that out on the newspaper.
Yeah, promo, the Eagle Angle, where you're watching this right now, we will have a link to it on our page.
Listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's called Problematic Princess. Check it out. But I didn't even watch Mulan. I watched the first 5 minutes, and I was like, why can she jump on? How can this like 10-year-old jump on a building?
They did too much. Like, they didn't really have to. And do it shot by shot. That'll make it so much better.
And I just really didn't appreciate that. I love it when I love character development, because that's what makes a good character and a good story. Yeah. Is you can't have a perfect person from the get go, and you can't have a terrible person from the get go that always stays terrible. That's awful. And not entertaining.
Yeah, and I recognize that what they were trying to do was like, oh, look, Mulan is also this woman who is being judged by society. I understand that is what they're trying to do, but the point of Mulan's story is that she can do everything a man can do, even though she's a woman.
Yeah. So...
And perhaps because she's a woman.
Yes. Because women are adaptable.
They are very adaptable.
But one more thing. And then... I appreciated that, but the last thing I need to say is that overall the moral of this era, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Pocahontas, Mulan, they all broke away from what society or their tribes or whatever that their people around them wanted from them. They didn't follow their rules; they followed what they believed, and that made them better, and that made the people around them better. It implied diversity, that we can all learn from each other. Especially when you tie in that a lot of people in this era were not actually royals. Because, like, Aladdin was not a royal. Belle was not a royal. Pocahontas, not a royal. Neither was John Smith. Mulan and Shang, both not royals. As much as people call them princes and princesses, they are generals of an army.
Mm-hmm. And they deserve to be treated as such. General Mulan!
Is Mulan a general? I don't know. I think she's a general in Mulan too.
Yeah, at least she's a highly respected warrior.
Yeah,
and everyone
in the live action they made Shane like one of the they didn't make him a general or anything. They made him like a commoner.
I hate that. Anyway, but yeah, and when they changed what they believe, well, they didn't change what they believe, but when they followed what they believe, the other people around them changed too. Mulan started a movement. When you look at Mulan 2, in the beginning, all the little girls want to train with her. Pocahontas, some of the white people were more accepting. And Aladdin, they changed the law, and she could marry her prince, who she loved, who she thought was a prince, even though he was poor. And I think that's all that changed.
Yeah, do you think that's all that changed?
Little Mermaid, I guess, that they could marry who they loved. I think they could already do that. Nobody just wanted to marry a human. Accepting other people's fantasies, whatever. But yeah, this was the era of change, and that's very important, especially now and actually always, because when people are being awful, they need to change.
Yeah.
All right, so now moving on to the next era, which is, a lot more.
The current
The
era.
modern era.
The current era.
We're gonna start off with The Princess and the Frog, which, oh my god, that movie, ahead of its time, so
revolutionary.
Yes, ma'am.
With a black princess.
I love
You're
her.
so smug about that, but I love that.
Yeah, and
you're kind of right.
It was also, I mean, wait,
Kinda.
have there been interracial marriages in the past princess movies?
No.
Because this
not really.
Because this is an interracial one.
The closest that we got was John Smith and Pocahontas.
I thought you were gonna say Ariel because she's not human.
That's interspecies. That's an entirely different thing.
Yeah, because Naveen of Maldonia is Indian. He is not black, and that got some backlash from some black people, but I don't care that much. I mean, it's still people of color.
I do think
because they were like, we didn't get a fully black movie, but that doesn't matter.
I really
we got a black
it.
princess.
It's not important.
We got a black princess. We got our thing.
We got a black princess. I do think there's a little bit of criticism in the fact that she stayed a frog for majority of the movie.
Yes, that got a lot of other people upset.
I really don't care about that as much because the story of Princess and the Frog was so good. The character development was so good. I stand that movie. What's your thoughts, Giselle?
Literally, okay, so I got this thing off, Bustle, and it says that, she is, what am I saying? Hold on. She's one of the first princesses to ever show that she doesn't need a man to live her life.
The whole work.
Yeah, you know how she doesn't need somebody or
I disagree.
a person.
I think that was Belle.
No, I think that Belle could have gone without a man, but I definitely think that she wanted.
But no, because Tiana really didn't say that she wanted anything. She just wanted to have a business.
She wanted her restaurant.
Yeah, that's true.
For her father. I love when
technically she did want something for a man, but it was her father.
I love when movies like this have relationships that aren't romantic.
Yeah, you're right. Which is also why I love the dynamic between her and Lottie because they're primary.
I need to say something about that. I love that because Lottie was rich and she was prissy and she was spoiled, but she was never I'm not going to treat Tiana with respect. I'm not going to do this just because I want it. She wasn't selfish when she really wanted to marry Naveen, but when Naveen was like, I want to marry Tiana, she was like, bet, I will kiss you. Goodbye. She never gave Tiana money because Tiana probably didn't want a handout. Yeah. But she still just gave her, she probably just gave her excessive amount of stuff to pay for for the work that Tiana did. She was just always there. They didn't portray her as a spoiled brat for her friends. They portrayed her as a spoiled daughter, but not a terrible friend.
And you know what I really love? Is what I really feel like exemplifies the theme of the movie, which is relationships and friendship and trust and all that stuff that comes with hard work. Yes. Is the fact that when Lottie thought that she had her prince, she gave up that chance to go help her best friend get dressed and cleaned herself up after she had just heard the worst news of her life. That means so much, and I really enjoy that, and the platonic relationships in Princess and the Frog go beyond and above.
I really like the part where she's, crying, and then she patters on her, her little patter, and then she's all back to normal.
Fully transformed, like Lydia from Teen Wolf. I'm throwing it in there. Lydia from Teen Wolf, that's basically what that was.
Hey, now.
The sparkle in the... Fantastic. I love her.
Very good.
I'm going to be pessimistic and say the worst moment of her life was probably when her mom died.
Who, for her?
For Lottie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did Tiana teach us?
Basically that she doesn't really need anybody, that she could just do things on her own. But
and
she just found something.
She educated the people around her. She was like, Naveen, stop being lazy. Do work.
Hands down, best princess. Best princess.
Yeah.
My favorite is Rapunzel.
Okay, well, good thing we're going on that one next, because now we have Tangled.
Rapunzel!
What a woman!
My boy Flynn Rider, going from thief
apparently
being honest about his own thievery. We love that for him.
Apparently, Disney asked a panel of women what it would make to write a good, likable male character like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And no wonder why a lot of people like him.
Yeah.
I do think that if he had Naveen's looks, he'd be hotter.
For sure.
I think his personality is pretty good.
Yeah. The thing I love about Rapunzel is she was, she was a mix of the modern, morals and Cinderella, sort of, because,
yes. Drawing back to that, abusive and not being able to get out of your bad situation.
Yeah.
It starts as that. It very much starts as she can't get out of her bad situation.
She found her prince.
She got out of that situation not really by herself, but, yeah, not really by herself.
But she also got out of it early.
But what I love about her is she had, Cinderella's have courage and be kind. She was always nice to other people. And she, didn't, she wasn't rude to them. Rapunzel was nice to people too, but she had like a fighting spirit. She was like, "Do not mess with me. I will be kind to you."
The other thing is, Rapunzel didn't realize she was being abused before a certain point. She just thought her mom was controlling and was like, "Hey,
I'm gonna sneak out.
Take me to the lanterns.
Yeah, and then I'll come back.
My name is Rapunzel of this tower. You will take
Rapunzel
me to the
of the tower."
She didn't know her last
Okay,
name.
Moana, chill.
That's what I was quoting. That's what I was making fun of. Anyway.
Anyway.
But I love her, and I love the fact that they started it with the same tropes that they used for the classical movies,
but like kind of put a spin on it.
Put the most modern interpretation they could on it. I definitely also really love the scene where Flynn gets stabbed, and she's like, "I will go with you if you let me heal him," because it draws back to the themes of the classical.
Selflessness.
And just, if you
And Flynn said, nah, we ain't doing that.
Yeah. What is your opinion on the fact that people were like, it's unfeminist?
It's unfeminist. It's unfeminist.
That's a thing. That was a thing. When the movie first came out, I saw a lot of critiques about people being like, she cut her hair. He cut her hair.
In that
so rude.
In that specific situation?
Yeah. What do you think about that, Giselle?
I did not know that was a thing.
Right?
Honestly, I was 11.
He literally just stopped her from having to go with her abusive kidnapper, and you're mad that her hair was cut. Now, Rapunzel, she was a heroine, even though, because she got help getting out, but she always fought for herself, like, physically and emotionally. Like, Cinderella fought for herself emotionally, but Rapunzel was not taking anything.
She literally had the pan. She
got a weapon. She used her resources.
During the fight scene where, like, the twins found them, she literally did so much for Flynn. Like, she used her hair. She used, like, the pan. Oh, my God. And then she even led them out of, like, that little cave with her hair. You know what? Shut up.
She may have caused it, but she also got them out of that situation. If
Did
you're gonna make
wait.
messes, clean them up.
No, Maximus caused it. Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
Leave him alone.
He's just a horse.
He is a horse. I'm not saying he's a bad horse.
He deserves love.
He's not a bad horse.
He deserves better. And
next Disney podcast, ranking the horses.
So Altivo from El Dorado, Angus from Merida, Maximus from Tangled.
Why do you remember their names?
That's not important. Why don't you remember their names? They're very good horses.
Woody's horse from Toy Story 1.
Shoot, what's his name? I don't remember his name.
No?
The horse from Sleeping Beauty.
Dog, I don't remember.
Did he have a name?
No, but it doesn't matter.
Bullseye! That was Woody's horse.
Anyways, yeah, Rapunzel, very good. She also goes with the, I don't need a man, but she ended up finding one, but, you know, good for her.
She falls into the themes. I feel like Rapunzel applies to a lot of themes. Like,
yeah.
She falls into the trope of all of the modern, and she also does a lot of change, and she very much exemplifies not being able to escape a bad situation at first. I just really like her development.
Oh, and another thing that's going on with these current ones is, my personal opinion is that people fell in love and married real quick back then is because people had, like, higher mortality rates then, so they died earlier, so they married and had kids earlier. Now we see in the current stuff, people are going on, like, adventures and bonding, because, like, you can't have, like, a month of getting to know somebody in, like, a 60-minute movie. But they're bonding through these big experiences, and then, like, they don't immediately get married after, like, at the end of the movie.
Do you think when the original movies came out in, like, 1940, 1950, that they still had high mortality rates and were having dozens and dozens of kids? Do you...
What?
I
was talking about...
you were talking about the time period, not necessarily when the movies were made.
Yes.
Oh, I was about to be like, Kennedy, don't be that stupid.
I'm not that dumb, okay?
Okay, let's continue.
But yeah, so, like, I like that they're having these long adventures and, bonding experiences, so they have a basis of these relationships in the current movies. And I think Mulan also actually started that because she got to know Shang through the whole war.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of training. That was over months.
Yeah.
Not in the new one.
Stop it.
We're not throwing shade at her.
But the next movie we have in the current era is...
Is this your era? No.
Sorry.
Anyways, the next movie in this era is Frozen, which has, you know, Elsa and Anna, and they're their relationship together is so nice because they also tie into that I don't need a man. Like, literally, out of
Elsa's
everyone.
entire story is she doesn't need a man.
She didn't even get a man. And then Anna just happened to find one along the way.
And punched the dude off a boat.
In fact, arguably in Frozen 2, Elsa got a girlfriend.
The Moana lookalike.
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
I don't remember.
I don't know her name either, but
Did she have a name?
She
does have a name. It was Honey something.
It was Honey something.
Yeah, they all had like names related to nature because they were the people of nature. And
I'm just gonna call them druids.
Anyway, but Frozen 1, fantastic movie.
And like, literally, the entire theme of it was that like, not theme of it, but like she literally
all forms of love matter.
Yeah, but she just went like she did all of this stuff just for Elsa, just for her sister. Like that's so nice of her.
I also just think that the way that they portray each form of love, the parental love that Elsa's and Anna's parents felt towards their daughter, where they were trying to protect her from the people's wrath.
Even if they made mistakes.
Yeah.
The thought counted.
Yes. And also the romantic love between Anna and Kristoff, which was really like a side plot. And I really liked that it was a side plot that was refreshing for a Disney movie. But
and their relationship was actually really cute.
Yeah, and their development as friends to Kristoff realizing that he cares so much about her and that he wants her to be happy, and him willing to put aside his feelings so that she can get her sister, she can get to the man who loves her back.
But didn't really.
But
he also like his relationship with his little
the reindeer.
Yeah.
And
reindeers are better than people.
And the trolls.
The entire movie was so laced with love in all of its forms that I just think it's hard to ignore that.
In the words of Thomas Sanders, true love is not an open door. It is a closed door that is eventually opened to you.
The fact that you remember that.
The fact that you memorized that.
I'm not gonna apologize.
When did that come out? 2016?
No! Thomas Sanders video came out like 4 months ago.
That's a lie.
I don't watch Thomas
Sanders has been a thing since Vine.
No, his video about Frozen.
His video about Frozen was a year ago.
Oh, it was? I don't have
his video. Are you talking about the Love is the Open Door video where he's like went into that? The Sanders-sized one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a year ago.
I have no concept of time.
Anyways, anything else about Frozen you want to
add? It gets a lot of hate. Unnecessarily.
It's people are like it's overrated, and it might be overrated because people hype it up too much, but it's a really good movie anyway.
Yeah.
People are just like over the Disney princesses that I guess that they're like.
Yeah.
But like even then, like you can't like help but like love
like
it.
You can't just bash a movie just because it's about Disney princesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's for like
I feel like you could bash a movie if it was like a terrible remake of a beloved Disney princess film where they didn't get any of the fashion historically correct. But
wow.
That's not even the worst one.
That wasn't even subtle.
Yeah, but we're not talking about Mulan. Mulan doesn't exist. Mulan 2020 does not exist.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I said this in the last part, but didn't they make a historically accurate version for China to appreciate?
Huh? There was a historically accurate version created in, like, 2014 by a Chinese studio.
Yeah.
But the Disney one is
Yeah, the Disney one was for the Disney one was for Americans, and the Chinese made their own to represent someone that they they cared about. I guess I don't know if cared is the right word. I don't know, appreciated.
Yeah, but we're talking about Frozen. But I really think that it just gets a bad rep for no reason. Let little girls have things.
It's overrated.
Let little girls have things beyond horses.
All right, next up we have Moana,
who is not a Disney princess.
But you know
she's
the chief's daughter. Excuse you.
But technically, we're going on a technicality here. She is awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. I am in love with her.
She is so
pretty.
Is
awesome.
Her body was realistic.
Yeah. I really liked how they did that.
I think they only made the island people realistic. Like Nani, her body was realistic, and so was Moana's.
Nani's body was realistic because it was not a historical setting. It was not like a Disney magical whimsical look at my figure kind of movie. It was hey, I am a working class woman trying to provide for my sister who happens to adopt an alien.
My dad hates
Lilo
Stitch.
and Stitch.
No, I know.
My dad hates Stitch.
Why?
I don't know. He says he's ugly and not cute.
He is ugly, but he's so cute. He's like a dog in that way. I understand how people could have thought he was a dog.
The thing I appreciated about Moana is that she didn't do anything for her own purposes in that movie. She did something. Her whole mission was literally for everyone else in on her island. She wasn't like the people in the beginning who like, I was rescued from my terrible situation when I couldn't get out and I benefited. It wasn't like the people in the middle who like improved themselves and they benefited and they did something that helped them. No, Moana's whole thing was for everyone except her.
And I understand that, like, I understand that. I also think that it's interesting that you mentioned the middle parts, because Mulan also did something that wasn't for her, but ultimately
it wasn't for her.
She profited and she benefited. Mulan is the exception, not the rule.
Yes.
Much like the Huns,
can
they're
Moana,
the exception.
Can Moana be like, I got in the water? Is that her benefit? Because she only wanted to be in the water because of the thing that happened with the kid with the ocean.
But then she ended up being an important part.
Yeah, I think it was less unnecessarily of... I think it was less want at a certain point and more of like, my island is dying, I have to go help. This is what I was chosen for, this is what I have to do.
I think this is worth mentioning because Maui's role in that movie, like when I first got to it, I was like, Maui's gonna be there with her the whole time, being a helper, and he was like, he literally left for half of the ending fight. And I think that's important to recognize. Moana was the main person doing everything. It was a harder movie. And Maui was like support, but he was barely there. And I think that's important to realize. It's I don't know.
The amount of research and detail work that went into that movie, so impressive.
All the voice actors were actually Polynesian.
It's the researching on the clothing, the researching on the historical timeline, the researching on the actual type of boats that they used, the language, the everything about it.
The Rock is Samoan. He was like,
so good.
Yes, all except for the coconuts, because apparently I don't remember the name of the coconuts, but apparently that is the name of an actual race of people, and they didn't appreciate being portrayed as coconuts.
Yeah,
they got bashed for that, but
which I didn't hear about that though.
I did.
I did too.
I did not, but
so they didn't. That was the only mistake in Moana.
Yeah, which was a lot, but
even then, like, it still also ties into the fact that she really didn't need a man. Because, like, after all of that, she didn't even get with, like, Maui. But, like, it makes sense why she didn't.
Because he's a demigod?
Yeah, but, like, that's the thing. All the other princesses ended up with somebody, and she didn't really. She just went back to her family. And she did everything out of her heart because she, like,
wanted her people to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well. And then...
Whoa.
And she also have, like, you know, that one relationship, especially with her grandma. Like, that was so sweet.
Love that.
The grandma relationship. And then when she was lost and alone on the ocean, and her grandma...
Like,
the song smacks.
I also
every song in that movie smacks so hard.
I also really liked how petty the ocean was.
It was so petty.
There's a lot to be said about this movie. Despite how awful Lin-Manuel Miranda and Lip Bite Lin is, I really want to say that he did a fantastic job with the actual music of the movie, and it really complements everything that the movie is about.
Also, when the first half of We Know Who We Are was in their language, I don't know the actual language, but it was in their language, it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. I have a thing about, I watch videos of all Disney princess songs in their original languages. Hashtag Snow White is better in German, in my opinion.
You're right. You're completely correct. Anyway.
Yeah, that's...
So the authenticity of Moana just really pushed it through. And Moana taught us that her benefit really was caring for those around her. It was like selflessness that drove the movie, and it was beautiful. Like, she walked up to Te Kā, a person made of lava, and just gave her the stone. Barefoot.
She knew.
I knew at the beginning of the movie. Like literally.
Okay.
She, like, I forgot her name, but the green person. Tafiti came up, and then immediately. Yeah, and then immediately Te Kā showed up. I was like, that is the same person.
Mhm. But it was very sweet and very nice. What a good movie.
What was the moral of this era, if you would say?
I would say the moral of the era was that they really just benefited for themselves. They really didn't need somebody.
They did. Independence, yeah. The thing that drove them was a selfless and, like, independent need to do something that you care about and not, like, what society is.
Also, the love you feel for other people is important.
Yeah, a lot of these movies were driven on love. And not even like selfish love or like expected love. They grew to love each other in these movies. Like all these movies, they kind of started off not liking each other. People that got together didn't really like each other in the beginning. Like Naveen and Tiana couldn't stand Naveen. Flynn wanted to get away from Rapunzel. Rapunzel didn't really respect Flynn. Kristoff and Anna were annoyed with each other. Moana hated to be around Maui. They did not like each other. But then they grew with the experiences that they did together.
I think each of the Disney princess eras have something that is new and original and defined in them. And I think it's really interesting when you look at them like how we've done today, where we have said, oh, hey, this era was about making the best out of your situation, and this area was about change, and this area was about love and freedom. And I think that's really interesting and cool of us.
Point of the story. Disney has a lot of messages, and we should all appreciate them.
All hail our mouse overlord.
We stand Mickey. Just saying.
Just him, though.
That's our podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed hearing us talk like crazy people.
Yay. Woo.